LJN, the Rainbow of Doom. Most people despise the company and their supposedly crappy games, but I actually enjoy them, and that's why I now don the moniker of the LJN Defender! Hello and welcome to the long-awaited return of the LJN Defender! The Rainbow of Doom is known for its infamous catalog of licensed tie-ins, and I've made a vow to redeem as many of them as I possibly can, but there are a few of these supposed stinkers that don't need my help because they're genuinely considered to be good. Yes, as hard as it may be to believe, LJN legitimately published some positively praised titles, and one of the most notable is the topic of this very video. Here it is, the obscure diamond produced at the tail end of the company's controversial existence, True Lies for the Super Nintendo. Released in February 1995, True Lies is a loose adaptation of the Arnold Schwarzenegger blockbuster developed by Beam Software. The studio behind some of the better entries in the LJN library is at it again with a top-down shooter that superbly captures the vibe of the source material. The story places the player in the role of Schwarzenegger's cinematic counterpart, Harry Tasker, and we have to stop the Crimson Jihad terrorist group from unleashing nuclear winter around the globe. The first level involves infiltrating a chateau and extracting important files from the upstairs computer via an attachable modem. The chateau confrontation serves as a tutorial to get acclimated to the controls and perfectly lays out what to expect in the stages ahead. As mentioned previously, True Lies is a top-down shooter reminiscent of NES Die Hard, but cranked to 11 in regards to the adversaries and obstacles encountered, as well as the assortment of weapons at our disposal. Harry is automatically equipped with a pistol that disperses single-shot bursts from an infinitely reloading clip, but the muscular protagonist will gather stronger guns over the course of the journey, which can be switched into rotation by pressing A, and he can lock fire in certain directions by holding Y or dodge enemy bullets with X. The threat that Tasker has to combat is tremendous, and the footage featured here is testament to the fact that True Lies doesn't mess around. In stark contrast to what the GameFAQs community reports, this Beam production is one brutal SOB, and my ass was severely kicked before the halfway point. Enemies lurk in every corner, waiting to strike at the appropriate moment, and the surrounding civilians frequently hinder our efforts to neutralize this massive menace. Killing these innocents will cause Tom Arnold to chew us out on a 3-strike system, and once this limit is reached, the level will restart from the beginning. As if that weren't enough of an annoyance, True Lies also involves a collectathon element, and we have to traverse the supersized stages without the aid of a map until necessary items such as keys and access cards are located. This normally wouldn't be a problem, and it's absolutely manageable in isolation, but the addition of the other two variables into the mix results in a fierce formula guaranteed to aggravate all but the most MLG pros. I've beaten some tough titles on and off this channel, and my stubborn nature usually keeps me from quitting, but I felt battered after hitting a metaphorical brick wall, and the unfortunate lack of time allotted for my recording session led me to take drastic actions. I caved and used the invincibility code. This was against my better judgment, of course, because I despise the idea of using cheats for this purpose, but I was really digging this game and I wanted to see it through to the end, so I decided to make an exception to my rule, and I'm kind of glad that I did, as it ended up bringing an unintentional extra layer of pure comedic joy to the overall experience.
You are terminated. Hasta la vista, baby. I'll be back.
Anyway, the 56K assignment is succeeded by a fast-paced escape down the snowy terrain where Arnie's accosted by hostile helicopters and skiers. As with the introductory screen, it's best to take the pacifistic route and roll away from the danger as quick as possible to Tom Arnold's vehicle below. Tasker and his partner pursue Aziz, the main villain, to the mall, and they not surprisingly receive a cold welcome courtesy of the combined forces of the Crimson Jihad. Simply ignore or execute the formidable foes and collect any health packs, 1-ups, and ammo lying on the ground, because you're definitely gonna need as much as you can to withstand the onslaught that waits ahead. Aziz's trail leads to an upstairs bathroom with a seemingly unlimited supply of lackeys to dispatch. This section gave me quite a headache on initial inspection, and I died a lot before discovering that the stall doors have to be destroyed before the actual boss will appear. This ponytailed brute will blast devastating buckshot in our general direction, but he can be eliminated swiftly as long as we return fire from a safe distance. Upon his defeat, Tom Arnold will chime in with some words of wisdom, informing Harry that Aziz fled the scene during the ruckus and we're off for a stroll in the park. The park was the setting of my shameful ass kicking and is where all of the aforementioned elements start to come to a boil. There are a multitude of gates that have to be opened and a fully loaded terrorist army to impede our progress in collecting the required keys. Getting past the Crimson Jihad unscathed is one thing, but doing so while blindly fumbling around the large locations is a completely different story, and try as I might, I kept failing humanity and dooming us to the hellish fury of the Mushroom Cloud. I normally relish a good challenge, but this is just ridiculous. The enemies dish out way more damage than they receive, and the stock weapon takes forever to reload, giving said enemies a wide opportunity to fill us with lead. And to add insult to injury, there are some stage hazards that are unnoticeable until it's too late. I salute anyone with the skills and patience to legitimately get through this, especially considering that the brutality continues to escalate throughout this Beam adventure. To briefly break down the remainder of this tough as nails licensed tie-in, the next level sends Harry into the subway, upon which he's greeted by a landmine covered floor and a new wave of bigger and badder foes lugging flamethrowers and rocket launchers. Arnie has to divert the train so he can access and destroy Crimson Jihad's computers, but this is much trickier than it sounds. There are 4 computers in total and they're extremely well protected to say the least. No matter which weapon is utilized, the computers take a very long time to turn into scrap, and I'm honestly perplexed at the thought of anyone surviving this onslaught without the assistance of a cheat code. The following segment brings Tasker to the docks in search of a series of arsenal crates. Again, there are adversities all around, and the crates themselves will explode in our hero's face if he gets too close, so it's best to constantly be on your guard. The presentation suffers a bit as the rockin' tunes are replaced with a more realistic ambient approach, which resulted in this scavenger hunt becoming rather tedious and dull. The tediousness subsides in the subsequent Chinese city as the musical accompaniment returns, but the brutality gets elevated to the nth degree as Harry has to defuse a bomb after finding the necessary keys to perform said task and ascending through an arduous gauntlet that's equivalent to a vacation into the 9 circles of hell. The game concludes with a refinery sector that offers more of the same, a short but sweet plain diversion that's a refreshing change of pace, and the ultimate battle with some red-clad figure who isn't Aziz. The Crimson Jihad leader is disappointingly defeated in the climactic cutscene as Tasker saves his daughter and the credits roll. As for the Game Boy version, there's really not much to say since it's essentially a downgraded port of its 16-bit sibling. The story beats are the same, but a few of the levels have been omitted due to the reduced cartridge space. The monochrome graphics are primitive in comparison to the colorful and vividly animated images on the SNES, the controls are simplified for the 2-button layout, and the music is a chiptune buffet. The intense difficulty is retained, but it's more due to the stiff controls, and I frequently died from being caught in the wrong direction. The conclusion is radically different from its superior counterpart, albeit in a very amusing way since Harry has to defuse a bomb by shooting it to pieces, and wipe out Aziz by literally blasting him off the wing of the plane. There are quite a few liberties taken with the source material, but all in all, Beam did a commendable job of capturing the spirit of Cameron's vision. The vivid visuals push the boundaries of the SNES hardware, the audio department sets the proper energetic tone, and the difficulty is sure to keep even the most ravenous of challenge junkies busy for a long time to come. True Lies is far from perfect, but the flaws that it possesses are relatively minor in the grand scheme of things, and I definitely recommend that Super Nintendo and Schwarzenegger fans give this a try. Anyway, now that I've fulfilled my defending duty, I have a special appearance in the IUPG court to prepare for that none of you are going to want to miss. Be sure to come back for that, but until then, this is Matt, aka the LJN Defender, signing out. Thanks for watching. If you liked what you saw and you want to see more, the boxes on the screen right now will lead to some more of my videos, and if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to the channel by clicking on my avatar in the bottom right hand corner. Thanks again.